Welcome to Roughing It with Ruth, the channel where everything is a bit rough around the edges.
Trail running! Why would anyone do it? Well, I can tell you why I started. In order to understand my motivation behind trying trail running, you also need to understand what it is that I love about hiking. Now, at the moment when I said that sentence, I realized that there are actually a whole lot of things that I love about hiking, and this is just one particular aspect. I'll put a link in the video description below to another video that I made called Why We Hike, which is a collection of different people's opinions about the best thing about hiking. But let's get back to the topic at hand. The very first time that I went hiking, I went with friends who were much, much fitter than I was. And I'd never been hiking before. I really thought I was going to die. But the entire experience opened my eyes to the fact that I previously had no idea what my physical limits were, and I could push myself so much harder than I had ever imagined. And realizing that kind of recalibrates your entire perception of who you are, and that is an awesome, amazing feeling. And it was definitely one of the reasons why I decided to carry on hiking and why I love hiking so much. Not the only reason, but one of the reasons. Of course, as you get fitter and fitter, you start losing that feeling of pushing yourself a little bit. And it took me a very, very long time to get to that point. And it wasn't that I was no longer enjoying the hike. I really loved so many things about it, but this one particular aspect, I just wasn't getting out of the hike anymore. Unless I took on really challenging hikes. You'd think that the simplest solution would just be to only do challenging hikes the whole time, which is great, except challenging hikes are a pain to organize. You have to find people who want to go with you. You have to take leave because they tend to be multi-day affairs. You have to find a babysitter because often the really challenging hikes are not things that you can take your kids on. So you end up only doing the challenging hikes a couple of times a year. Essentially, what I wanted to do was find an activity that was really tough, but that I could do as often as possible. At this point, one of my friends actually suggested running to me. Taryn, you're a legend. Greatest suggestion ever. Thank you so much. And I'd never considered running before because I had never done running in my life. I'd never done athletics at school. I'd never participated in any sort of sport of that nature. So I'd never thought that it was an option for me. On the plus side, let me tell you from experience, if you've never done running before, it's guaranteed to be tough, especially in the beginning. And you can do running every day if you want to. So from that point of view, running was the perfect activity. And of course, surprise, surprise, the type of running that appealed to me the most was trail running, because that way you also get to be out in the outdoors. So even with all these really obvious benefits, it still took me quite a while to build up the confidence to actually go and do a trail run. Even though I was completely on my own, there was no one watching me, I still felt very much like I was a bit of an imposter in a world that I knew nothing about. Well, I thought there was no one watching me. It turns out that my dad was busy filming my first ever trail run with his cell phone's camera. And honestly, I still feel like an imposter every time that I go for a trail run. I've only been doing it for about a month, and I'm very new and I'm very slow, and I still don't really know what I'm doing. But I have entered for a couple of races in the future, so I'm hoping that it all works out. There is one thing that I'm slightly concerned about, and that's whether this whole exercise is a bit of a slippery slope where you have to keep ramping up and ramping up and ramping up in order to feel like you're pushing yourself. And in that case, where do you actually stop? If you have an answer, then please leave me a comment below, because I don't have an answer. And if you would like to see more videos like this one, then please subscribe to my channel. I make new videos every week.